get it started now. Freedom, 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 freedom. My freedom begins at Life Force Canada.
Hey, welcome to Life Force Canada. I'm very excited about this evening. We know there are many freedom movements that have been created in every country. Sometimes when we're at home alone or we're on a Zoom call, we can sometimes maybe forget that this movement, the freedom movement, is very big. There are millions of us. Remember that, millions of us across the plane. Sometimes we can forget that we are not alone. We need to really breathe that in. And we can all see that we are the ones, the millions of beautiful souls that are aligning and coming together. Even though we may not see each other or know each other, we are all connected right here. The bearers of light, of truth, right? The ones who have the courageous hearts for standing up to tyranny. The ones who are unstoppable in their quest for freedom, no matter what. The quest for change, the quest for the evolution in consciousness. We are the ones who will make everything flip from what it has been to what it is meant to be. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Now, it may not seem like it, but the light has actually increased tenfold on this earth, and it will continue to do so. However, alongside the light, the shadow is also rising to the surface. And we've been seeing that the past couple of years. We must not be afraid of that shadow aspect, because as we face our own inner shadow, the shadow power structure begins to disintegrate. And it is on so many levels. It's kind of like the cosmic wringing out of old patterns, behaviors, so that we can really start the new era with our 2 feet firmly on the earth as we walk across the bridge into the private domain, into prosperity, greater freedom, into authentic living, right? So you are here to stay on the course, stay on the path, keep moving forward. We all continue to do what is necessary in educating those who have an open mind and are ready to take action, as we are uplifting ourselves again from a false reality and into a living authentic lives. It's going to be really valuable and important for all of us to hold a vision, to not only have a vision, but purpose for being here in these times, because we're still going to be going through massive change. And so your purpose, the reason you are here, not just here on the Zoom call, but here on this, in this realm, on this earth right now, the reason that your soul chose to be here, it's about you connecting to the big why. Otherwise, you might feel as though you're floating, right? You're floating adrift, that you can be swept away, because there is going to be a lot of strong emotions coming to the surface, and you probably experienced those emotions, you know, with your family in the great divide that's been happening. It's really important to make sure that you are not alone, that we all have your back. We all know we want freedom. We want to be free to live the life we have in our heart. We want to be prosperous and happy and healthy. However, if the mind cannot see or create a path, then we can get stuck in the dream of it instead of being in creation mode. So I'm trusting that what we're going to be doing today is going to inspire you to be in creation mode. I believe that we are all going through a self-initiation. It's a self-initiation test that really challenge parts of our personality in order to develop that creative focus, to step into what is referred to as the point of intention. So you may think that the tests that life is testing you or the universe is testing you in some way. Just remember that it is your higher self, right? You are being tested so that you can step into the highest version of you. You are creating these tests. You are creating these tests so to see if you are ready for that next level, so that you can see if you are able to handle the energy that's going to that is going to be it's already here in many ways. However, there's more light that is going to be integrated into this reality. So as it becomes more integrated, we need to be integrated with the desire in our heart. And that desire in our heart, again, is always focused on the reality that we know we're meant to be living, right? Whether we want to call it fifth dimensional consciousness, living authentic lives, that power is developing in all of us. I can feel it within myself. And as we make the transition to the new earth, it's going to be very exciting. And at the same time, it's not easy because we're being called right now to let go. We're being called to let go of a lot within this 3D reality. And that can be really difficult, very challenging. Our mind is not programmed, unfortunately, to focus on goodness for any length of time. Our brain is wired for negativity. So training our mind will be key to creating that desired future that we all want to experience. That is why I thought this evening would just be a powerful step for all of us to take to really focus on imagining and speaking into existence a beautiful future. To take our minds away for a moment in time, away from the stressors, the deception, the division, the manipulation that so many of us are experiencing, and to truly step into a reality that makes us breathe a sigh of, right? Yes, we're here. We did it. So it's going beyond the sigh of relief to satisfaction, to fulfillment, that we can truly see how we have created a win-win-win for everyone in 2030. So it's time to awaken to the fact, the truth, right? That we are absolute creators of our life. So we can engage purposely into the future. And we do this with creativity, excitement, and that energy of fulfillment. It's time to awaken and acquire the tools and the resources for us to learn to transform any challenge right now that we have into an opportunity for growth and expansion. Again, it's time to awaken to that fact that we are all one, and learn how to handle and embrace and activate those energies within us, and the energies, of course, within and the energies without, in such a way that we add clarity and harmony and peace to everyone around us as we move forward. There's going to be times when we become stuck and we forget that we have this amazing vision because we might not feel it's manifesting fast enough. We need to breathe in patience. Right? So let's all do that right now. Let's breathe in patience, breathe in that life force energy. And we're just letting go of everything that does not serve our highest good, because we have awakened to the realization that we are truly unlimited. And we are all on a journey of unfolding into the highest expression that we can have for ourselves. Now, as I mentioned last week, we have a few members who are going to be sharing their Backcasting 2030 vision, taking the journey beyond the familiar and deep into what we truly want to accomplish in the next 7 years and beyond, of course. And then, of course, together, then we create that new earth. Now, for those of you who were not on the call last week, I just want to remind you that backcasting is really referred to a planning method that starts with defining a desirable future, and then we work backwards to identify a path that will connect that specific future to the present. So as each of the members share this evening their vision of 2030, you may want to close your eyes and see yourself there. Manifestation involves emotion. And if we can all collectively tune in to the energy of joy, right? Joy is a powerful manifestation energy. We can bring that vision closer to us and we'll begin to see the steps on how we can get there. And of course, again, the path will then be made clear for all of us. Okay, we're going to start with Sandra.
It's 2030, and it's hard to believe I'm turning 70 this year. But thanks to advancements in energy healing, nutraceuticals, and overall reduction of toxicity in the environment, I, like many others, am experiencing what is termed the Benjamin Button syndrome. My biological age is actually 58, and each year my physical and emotional bodies are reverse aging to attain renewed vibrancy and vigor. Our reality is much different today than just 7 years ago, when 2023 held the turning point in our human evolution. The greater reset has prevailed, and the world is rejoicing in the newfound freedom and prosperity. There is a renewed optimism as the control system continues to be systematically dismantled and replaced with a collaborative and just ecosystem. From the ashes of the New World Order, a new earth has arisen. With the collapse of financial funding to all the various complexes that had dictated the events and structure of our world, a profound prosperity has unfolded. The end of tax slavery, government bureaucracy, wars, corporate monopolies, and central banking transferred an enormous amount of wealth to the people. Institutional debt simply vanished. The collapse of the welfare industries within the cultural landscape has also allowed a new vision for the earth and has fostered a cultural revolution. When Pierre Poilievre first pulled funding from the media, including the CBC, the people danced in the streets. There weren't even many protesters because the mainstream media had become so irrelevant and corrupt that practically no one wanted to save it. The end of media manipulation dropped a truth bomb on humanity, and the emerging new media is able to focus on the three key areas to inform, educate, and entertain. Without the parasitic middlemen, independent creators are flourishing and enlightening humanity with their talents and skills. New distribution platforms are spreading the good news, and light has been restored to the cinematic industry. As levels of consciousness have risen, more people are beginning to access the spiritual internet and are also benefiting from the quantum manifestation protocols. We were not that optimistic as we began 2023. We were in the final days of the COVID psyop, and the globalist corporatocracy had a firm hold on the direction of life on Earth. However, there was a dramatic shift that year, and the dominoes began to fall, creating a cascade of events that ultimately saw the demise of the controllers and slave masters. Of course, there were difficult years as a result, with the Great Panic of 2025 certainly recognized as the low point in the transformation of our existence. Most people didn't understand what was happening, and they certainly weren't prepared. The ride was not easy for even those who were awake, aware, and prepared prior to this time, but at least they were healthy and their preparation paid off as they supported each other through the difficult years. The communities they had established were able to provide a certain amount of subsistence to those still trapped in the cities And over time, they began to teach important skills for food security and natural maintenance of health. Within just a couple of years, the systems and skills for establishing local self-governance and sustainability were established. It was now a more receptive population, softened by desperation, as well as a huge dose of reality. Sadly, large swaths of the world population were lost in the ensuing years after the mRNA vaccines. While people were able to remain somewhat passive and aloof during the fear-mongering of contrived deaths of the pandemic, once they began to actually lose people around them in repeated succession, massive fear swept across the globe. As the truth about the actual objectives of Agenda 2030 began to reach critical mass, people began to understand the real situation, and the subsequent wave of panic swept around the planet. The fear soon gave way to anger, and an intense but short revolution unfolded. However, the higher consciousness of the awakening prevailed, and it quickly became apparent that violence and unrest was not the answer. There were more important things to be done. The people began to understand the freedom they now had, and to take the steps to reclaim their sovereignty and to drive out the last of the fringe elite. Many formerly powerful people went into hiding. They essentially just disappeared, irrelevant and despised. The large numbers of people who were dependent on government for their jobs or support programs quickly learned to adapt to the new reality and either transitioned successfully or also faded into obscurity, and an unfortunate few did not survive. All of this was actually forecast by astrologers, but not many people paid them much heed or truly understood the significance of what was being predicted. The most significant transit in decades, in 2023, held the keys to all the energetic shifts that would occur over the following 21 years. That transit was the ingress of the tiny dwarf planet Pluto into the sign or constellation of Aquarius. Reviewing what was written as that transit approached is useful in understanding how the transformation of our societies began and unfolded. Pluto in astrology governs transformation on all levels. First of all, it's the ruler of life and death. All processes where you go from one realm of existence to another belong to Pluto. It also governs transformation on a more complex level. As the planet of digging under the surface, it wants to get rid of all destructive mechanisms acquired throughout life. Pluto is the planet of rebirth on a spiritual level as well. Aquarius is the sign of originality, humanitarianism, revolutions, technology, and of course, freedom. Transitioning from traditional and past-oriented Capricorn, Aquarius is crazy about everything new. The water bearer is the sign of humanitarianism, with organizations working for the greater good of society. Justice, truth, and freedom are all very important for Aquarius in astrology, and Aquarius is fascinated with the truth and wants the world to be fair. This sign believes in equality. It's the most democratic sign of the zodiac. Inventions and science are all connected to Aquarius, and it emphasizes revolutionary ideas and invention of devices or techniques. Ruled by Uranus, the planet of freedom and revolutionary vision, Aquarius conveys the urge for change and the ability to visualize new possibilities. Pluto first entered Aquarius on March 23, 2023, but retrograded back into Capricorn in June through the end of that year. It then entered back into Aquarius to stay on January 21st, 2024, where it will remain until 2044, another 14 years from now. When Pluto enters a new sign, our lives and society as a whole change in unprecedented ways. Pluto is the higher octave of Mars, the planet of personal will. When we take action and assert ourselves, that's Mars. Similarly, Pluto is the collective dimension of Mars, so it is the sum of all the wills of all the individuals. It is the life force itself. Aquarius is a collective sign, so it rules one to many and many to many communication. But communication is not only verbal communication, but in general, the distribution of thoughts, words, energy, people, and resources. Pluto exposes what is rotten in our society. This refers to the planetary action of Pluto rooting out the detritus, with Aquarius representing the collective realm where the energetic action is applied. Pluto purges what's toxic and no longer needed. So in Aquarius, it is exposing what was no longer working and in turn allows us to build a better structure and infrastructure for everyone here on Earth. The movement of Pluto ignited a major transition from the control structures of Capricorn that had held energetic dominance since November of 2008. Pluto is the planet of power, and while it moved through Capricorn, the state, government, big institutions were in charge and had all the power. Pluto in Capricorn is that big father that gives directives, but also looks after their children. Beginning in 2023, the Capricorn Tower of Babel, the Capricorn House of Cards, collapsed, allowing for a reorganization and rescheduling of the centers of power from the bottom up rather than top down. With Pluto in Aquarius, there is no more big father. With Pluto in Aquarius, we have to, by choice or by force, stop relying on Capricorn top-down systems or parent figures. In Aquarius, we the people have the power, with the opportunities and obligations that come with it. Aquarius rules all systems, routes, and multiple complex networks and infrastructure. Another of Pluto's roles is to kill the ego so that it can find a power that goes beyond the superficial concerns of the ego to get to the bottom of consciousness itself. It is only in Pluto's underworld that we can find the sacred light of pure consciousness, stripped of ego. Pluto always asks us to let go of something that we find incredibly difficult to live without. While Pluto may want to break our ego, Pluto never wants to break our spirit. On the contrary, Pluto in Aquarius helps us find our true power. Not a power that seeks to control, take advantage of, and win, but a power that seeks to express one's truth in a way that serves the best interests of humanity at large. We've witnessed the transformative power of this transit for about 6 years, and with these energies on our side for the next 14 years, the new Earth we envisioned back in 2023 will be close to being fully manifested. Enjoy the ride.
Yay, Sandra, you put a lot of effort into that. Thank you so much. Now what I want to do is I want to go come over to your place and get the big whiteboard out and mind map it.
So I'm sorry, it was a little longer than the 2 minutes, but I guess I got inspired.
That's so great. I love it. Thank you. That's what we need right now. We need and everyone to really step into that reality and speak from that place. It's so inspiring. And I'm glad you brought forth the astrology piece. Thank you. Okay, we have Laura Jane next.
Thank you. Well, thank you for inviting me to take part in this celebratory broadcast. It has only been 7 years since 2030, but it feels like it was eons ago. 2023 was a pivotal point in the awakening of many men and women who rose up and declared enough is enough. We are reclaiming our true power. The controllers smirked, believing that they were invincible and had dominion over the planet and all residing here. Yet there were many challenging them, and in many different ways. We had mass protests taking place. We had many who risked their lives to bring forward truths that had been hidden from us for decades in 2023. And in the early days, some even tried to fix the crumbling systems to make them better. It was both heartbreaking and heroic to witness. Finally, all these free-thinking, freedom-loving men and women found each other and came together and created new societal systems based on natural law and sovereignty, leaving the old systems to shrivel up and disappear. The cleanup for the massive and prolonged abuse of our planet and all those living here continues. But we are seeing accelerated signs of recovery as I breathe in the clean, fresh air and watch the many, many new orcas go with their parents. We haven't seen that surge of family in a long time. The focus of my report is the stunning planetary economic recovery. In 2023, this recovery started with a pocket of men and women who left the public domain and decided to connect with each other in the private. I wonder why I'm talking about this. No. This action was ignored initially until the controllers realized that individuals were connecting with each other in loving communities and they were meeting all their needs. Natural wellness, farming using natural methods, children being educated in harmony with nature. Millions of small communities sprang up, organizing themselves to meet the needs in their community members. In looking back, it was like watching small ink blots on paper, starting as a little blob and then gradually expanding and expanding until they found each other and they united and all became independent of the controllers. The natural economy supplanted the command economy that had been in place for so long. This restoration of a free market economy in which each man or woman is free to make decisions about what products, goods, or services they want to offer and to connect with those who are wanting to receive those. In 2023, this recovery began with a groundswell of private membership associations. They grew into alliances such as food alliances, health alliances, education alliances, and eventually even created hubs working with entire communities. These business models formed a true voluntary free market, established to meet the unique needs of their community. The command market economy could not survive and continued to be eroded, removing not only government control, but their basis of control, money. Government threats and unlawful intimidation only served to energize greater ways for the sovereigns to express their free will. They were on a roll. The resulting collapse of compliance with government dictates and limitations brought an end to that system. No longer were souls willing to be told what products they could or couldn't make, what services they could or could not offer, how much they were to charge for it. They were private members now. They removed government control and were no longer seeking permission to do what they wanted to do, what their soul called them to do. They weren't paying taxes. Taxes for what? There was no need for this. Today, I'm reporting from the Humanity Rehabilitation Center and Treatment Center, where the former controllers such as Bill Gates, Justin Trudeau, Klaus Schwab, and all the others are being cared for. They have a persistent belief that this is just a temporary setback and that even every hour of the day they spend analyzing what went wrong and trying to plan how to fix it. After all, they remain convinced that they held all the cards: economic, education, media and mind control, enforcement puppets, food supply and technology. How could they have not had submission? The latest reports this week are not optimistic that these broken men and women will ever be released, as they are persisting in refusing therapies, and there is a strong belief that they are in such deep soul atrophy that they may never recover. They will remain a harm to themselves and to others. On a brighter note, I'm happy to report that in 2030, that these pioneers of business with the PMAs, alliances, and hubs that put up with all the persecution and all of those things that were thrown at them by the controllers have successfully moved us into a free and creative economy without conversion, without control or regulation. In fact, today's economy is flourishing as we live in peace, harmony, and unity of all life on this planet. In fact, at the time of this report, we have seen the need for our early business models fall away as humanity moves into a time of self-determination and self-responsibility focused on love and caring for each other and the planet and all who reside here. Thank you.
Laura Jane, that was so well done. Thank
Thanks.
you. And I love
It
how
was
you
fun.
sense of humor in it as well. What did you call it? The Humanitarian Rehabilitation Center?
Yeah, Humanitarian Rehabilitation and Treatment Center.
Brilliant.
Well, we're going to try, right? Because we care about everybody. But soul atrophy was just too great in these guys. I don't think there's any hope for them.
Yeah, exactly. And yay to the pioneers of the PMA founders.
Yes. Heroic individuals.
Yes. Thank you, Laura Jane. That was great.
Thank you.
Hella is next. Hello, Hella.
Right. I'm loving being in 2030 with you. Okay, so 2030. I'm sitting here in the community biodynamic garden, which is being cared by the children in our learning pods. The pure love energy is felt tangibly, and people around look healthy, happy, and free. I'm outside Vancouver on one of the islands, and even Vancouver became a city made up of little villages again, where people turned their front lawns into vegetable gardens, created learning pods, and to have their children with them, and have creative art celebrations. And the neighborhood small businesses are practicing the economy of exchange and gifting. Seniors are not isolated anymore. They are actually part of the guardians. Together with artists and scientists, they are working with the children, teaching and supporting the children's innate skills and talents. Meditation, yoga, high frequencies, music, and movement, together with other modalities, are part of our routine. We heal, grow, and evolve together. We are all learning with the children and running entrepreneurial projects for the good of the communities. There are mentors for different disciplines and practices, and the children are part of the decision-making process. Life is beautiful, and humans feel safe, belong, and on purpose. The vegetation and animals respond to it as well. We have developed our telepathy capacities, and we are communicating in a much clearer and better ways with our ecosystems. Humans on Mother Earth are thriving. The new Earth is now an example to the whole galaxy of what living in love and harmony looks like. Much gratitude to 2023 when it all started to fall into place.
Thank you, Hella. Yes. I love front lawns are gardens now in Vancouver villages. Learning pods. Yes. Thank you. That was beautiful. I am so with you in regards to meditation and yoga and bringing that into our life every single day. Love it. Thank you. Thank you. Look, Dwayne, you're up next.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Happy Monday to you. There is a time and space that causes one to reflect back on one's life. And here I sit at an epoch in history. I have to admit that I truly love my life and how it all has unfolded. The hike up the mountain behind the property is always refreshing, but today the river valley below looks so serene and tranquil. It's hard to believe it's been 6 years since I was able to make this property mine. The main house and cabins are barely visible through the canopy of the trees below. The fresh mountain air is so intoxicating. It's hard to believe these clear blue skies were once lined with chemtrails. I'm so grateful the whole thing was blown wide open a few years back. Oh yeah, that era, what is now referred to euphemistically as the stupid age of humanity. We sure got close to the abyss back then. It was during the days of the Great Awakening that turned the tide in late 2023. Sadly, it was the loss and injury of millions of people across the globe that was the catalyst for the awakening of humanity to occur. The mainstream media could no longer contain or cover up the overwhelming evidence of the real-time impact of the vaccine scandals. But the real spark came when both Klaus Schwab and George Soros died within weeks of each other. Then the leaked documents and video evidence was made public of the truth of the global Agenda 2030. And at great risk to themselves, many of the leading news anchors of the mainstream media awakened and spoke out live on air of the great cover-up as many of their colleagues were dying live on air. The house of cards was so big and so intertwined that once the foundational pieces were exposed and made accountable, the collapse of the matrix began. It was during President DeSantis' first term, the Davos trial for crimes against humanity started. I still shake my head when I reflect back when Trudeau and the Liberal caucus had their day. The celebration across Canada made the trucker convoy of 2022 look like a gym assembly. Though I do not agree with the severity of the penalties and sentences, they were responsible for the death of millions that didn't have to happen. It gave rise to the Life Force Canada influence of sovereignty to the people, a model that makes Canada and a few other countries in the international membership such an attraction for those that love personal independence and freedom without the political system that slows things down. And Canadian cities have evolved beyond the control centers that the Matrix wanted them to be, and are wonderful hubs of commerce, of natural beauty and vibrancy. As well, the attraction of rural living and sustainable communities has made working the land take on a whole new level of health and nutrition and harmony in our agricultural industry. Monsanto's is all but a memory. The truth movement steamrolled so heavily into all aspects of the matrix that their trials went on for years. Even the global media had their day, which paved the way for the free and independent media we have today. When Big Pharma was taken to task in 2024, the WHO, the CDC, and global health organizations all had their files exposed. Well, and most of the CEOs and directors at the time, well, they exited this realm before their sentencing date. Due to this distrust and hatred towards the corrupt pharma industry, the holistic and homeopathic community had the great renaissance. The medical industry had to be restructured from the ground up. And that kind of reminds me of the amazing moment when they closed the Frank Baker Cancer Center in Calgary and turned it into clinics and holistic practitioner offices. It was one of the many cancer centers around the world that had to get repurposed due to the reality that cancer was caused by big pharma and the toxic food industry. Towards the end of 2023, we were so close to insolvency around the world, but as the truth was now unstoppable, the financial world was not immune. The funds that were stolen by governments and the ill-gotten gains of BlackRock, the WEF, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the bank families, royalty, the oligarchs were all exposed to the point where their power was not enough to insulate themselves from the trials and the truth. I still shake my head as I remember the destruction of Windsor Castle live on TV. It seemed like it jumped from the scene from the movie V for Vendetta. It was a symbolic event of the global revolt of the people and the fall of the city of London as the financial shelter for the elites. The capital in these nefarious accounts were then put into what is now called the fund, effectively putting trillions and trillions of dollars into the economy and ending inflation and poverty around the world. Taxes and consumer debt has all but been abolished. And I'm grateful, as it has certainly helped me secure and build on this land. As I gaze upon the deer and her fawn just below in the tree line, and the abundance of bees in the alpine meadow, I'm reminded of the beautiful thing. And that is, mothers and fathers are now able to celebrate the birth of their first child, when just a few years ago, the jab made conception all but impossible. Given the chance, nature always finds a way. As the hypnotic trance of the matrix ended and the food and land was restored to its natural state of abundance and life-inducing nutrition, the natural return of testosterone gave men their focus and sense of purpose again. Men and women returned to the truth of who and what they are, and thus ended the woke movement, and was also the demise of organizations and ideologies that created separation and division among men, women, families, and color. Well, I've got to get back down the mountain before I lose the sunlight and get dinner started. Plus, I think I need to recalibrate the free energy generator before my guests arrive, as I blew out 2 light bulbs in the shop earlier today. It feels good that upon reflection of all the changes that we went through, and that I stuck to my wits and stayed on the right side of history, along with my other fellow freedom lovers. Yeah, we sure went through a lot, but it was so very worth it. It's 2023. I have everything and I'm happy.
Yay, Dwayne. I love how you shared about repurposing cancer centers. Yes, I've seen that for so long. So thank you for mentioning that. And end of the woke movement, all of everything you shared. And I do agree with Sherry in regards to creating this as a part of your Awake, Free, and Ready.
Thank you so much.
Powerful. Thank you. Brian, you're up next.
Thank you, Karen. The Backcast 2030 is a great design showing you where we want to go. Now, I hope some of you people have heard of the Venus Project. To me, I've looked at this in great detail, and I find great value in the Venus Project and the direction that they want to go. Part of this aspect of the Venus Project is no money. Everything is free. And we can imagine in, say, the year 2030, if there was no money. What does that really mean? What would be the result? I've got a few results and I'm just scratching the surface here. But if there is no money, there is no advertising. There are no accountants. There are no sales. There would be no flyers. There would be no insurance. There would be no banks. There would be no tax. And theft would plummet. Everything is free. Would people still steal? Maybe, only because they've lived in the society that we're in now. If everything is free, would there be greed? Crime would plummet. Most of the corruption, as Dwayne and LJ as well touched on, the corruption is based on money. If we have no money, we basically wipe out corruption. As the crime has plummeted because everything is free, do we need lawyers? Do we need prisons? As we get rid of, say, the money, and we go into, say, the year 2030, and we're having this new transformation in our society, this opens up a great way to fully understand our rights and freedoms and natural law. Natural law has been a direction that many groups are talking about, and I firmly believe that's the direction we want to go. And without money in our society, this would be far easier to learn. Now, without money, all these different industries, the banking industry, taxes, the politicians, insurance, accountants, all this bookkeeping people, they're going to have to find new jobs. They're going to have to help us with what we do. And as there is more people to do the work that we're doing, we are going to be able to do our work in far less time. You are not going to have a full-time job that is 40 hours a week. It's very likely to be half of that, 20 hours, maybe less. The benefits of no money are substantial. I really just want to open up your eyes to give this consideration. I know this is a mind-boggling concept. Many people are going to have great difficulty understanding this. I'm going to put some videos in chat later about the Venus Project. I'm sure if you look at this, it'll open up your eyes to the benefit of having no money in our society with no money as well. I do believe the communities are going to have more time to unite with each other. You're going to get to know more of your neighbors. Maybe you're going to have block parties. And with your labor, you have lots of extra time when you're at work. You're not going to be doing your job as fast as you can to get the job done so that you can go do another job to make more money. You are going to do your job the best that you can. Quality craftsmanship is going to go to a new level. You don't do your job as fast as you can. You want to do it the best you can. And in the Venus Project too, it talks about we are constantly improving what we can do. That is our main goal, just to improve. We will always be able to improve with what we do. With this quality craftsmanship, there's going to be less wreckage. You just use your cell phone as an example. These things are designed not to last. Your vehicles, they're talking about electrical vehicles, they're not designed not to last. There's so many different things that are designed not to last. There's going to be less pollution as we build our products better. It's going to be so much better. We're going to take it to a new level. And we're going to have our schools and our groups are going to be collaborating together to make things better. What about this? What about this? We're going to have some of the mundane jobs that people don't want to do. We'll have robotic labor for many tasks. There's jobs that we don't need to do. We have robots that can do these jobs for us. Part of the Venus Project is we want everything in abundance. We don't want to, have way too much stuff, but we want more than we need. I think this is going to develop a society that people will have a passion to work together for everyone's benefit. We're doing this all for each other. I believe this is a key element in most people, but we've been, indoctrinated to think about ourselves. Now that we have, say, no money, everything is free, and we have extra time, we will have a passion for our fellow man. I believe this concept with no money and Venus Project could bring a quality of life beyond your wildest dreams. With that, I yield.
Beautiful, Brian. Thank you. As you know, I love the Venus Project. I think it's just such a beautiful model that we can all step into.
This is why I use the background that I have on my screen today, the no money.
Prosperity for all. Absolutely. I love it. And again, too, it's the one small town movement. Michael Tellinger has been talking about this for decades, that we don't need money. It's really all about collaboration and contributionism, and that's where we're stepping into. I love it. Thank you. And I'm so glad you spoke into quality craftsmanship. Yes, thank you. Beautiful. Everyone just breathe all these amazing ideas in, these possibilities to being the truth of our reality. Thank you. Karen, Hannah, you're next. Hello, Karen.
Hello, thank you. Well, it's January 2030. And looking back at the last 7 years, it's wonderful to see that because of our commitment and our dedication to the freedom movement, we've resolved so many of our food and water challenges in such a short time. We knew that it was possible. And for years, we had talked about it on our Life Force Canada weekly calls. So here's some of the major trends and transitions that we've experienced over the last 7 years. Back to the land movement. Over the past decades, we've seen a gradual migration of people from the cities to the country for a happier and healthier life adventure. These people have moved to the small towns and the rural communities. Today, the farmers are the true caretakers and the stewards of the land. And as a result, our rural communities have become the food hubs of our nation. We no longer support the centralized food system and industrialized farming system. Whereas multinational corporations used to plant and harvest hundreds of thousands of acres of GMO canola and other grains, with vast investments in chemicals, synthetic fertilizers, harmful pesticides, high-tech and expensive machinery, they now have nearly disappeared from the landscape and from our memories. The ones that have remained are now growing and harvesting hemp and ancient grains like einkorn, spelt, kamut, etc. Of course, the politicians and the regulators have tried to step in, waving fancy pieces of paper describing legislation, mandates, zoning laws, fines, and penalties to coerce the living men and women. However, these talking heads have no authority, and so they were ignored by the sovereigns who were self-educated and prepared with PMAs and other lawful agreements. Next is the gardening revolution. We've seen a gardening revolution in the past 7 years. Not only are we working closely with nature spirits, earth energies, vibration, and frequencies to grow large, nutrient-dense produce, but we see rooftop gardens everywhere, vertical gardens, community gardens, market gardens, farmers markets. These are all the primary way that people now source their food. And in the summer months, all across Canada, you can walk down the street in your neighborhood and freely pluck an apple, a pear, or a plum from a tree. School gardens, garden courtyards, and housing complexes are commonplace. We still have a few green lawns, but most of these have been converted to edible green spaces. Greenhouses, microgreen businesses, tower gardens, and potted edible plants grow in every home, deck, or balcony. That doesn't quite make sense. Fruit trenches for growing subtropical plants in freezing temperatures are being installed as the months go by. These days, we use only heirloom and open pollinated fruits and vegetables. We plant according to ancient methods related to the moon cycles. Rainwater collection, natural pesticide control, seed saving, electroculture, the use of copper tools is commonplace. And we regularly forage for wild edibles and medicinal plants. GMOs, Monsanto, irradiation, and genetic manipulation are now a thing of the past. Organic and fresh is mainstream. The next major trend that I want to speak on is localization, locally sourced and farm fresh food. There were many innovations in the food processing, packaging, and storage industry over the decades. But in 2030, the local food movement is now mainstream. People today are better educated on the importance of food security, proximity, self-reliance, and sustainability. And they've learned to cultivate meaningful relationships between farmers, restaurants, and home cooks. Step by step, we collectively removed ourselves from the manipulation and control of the globalist food supply chains and discovered that eating local makes for happier minds and bodies. Farm to table refers to food made from locally sourced ingredients, often natural or organic. Farm to fork is a food system in which food production, processing, distribution, and consumption are integrated to enhance the environment, economic, social, and nutritional health of a community. Farm gate sales, U-Pick, and farm-to-table eating adventures are popular with farmers, food producers, and growers. Education, let's talk about that one. A massive re-education of farmers continues today. They're learning about composting, biodynamic farming, permaculture, soil remediation, etc. Today, if you take a drive to the country, you'll see a year-round greenhouse on every quarter section of land. We've extended our growing season and locally producing fruits and vegetables to nourish local families. Instead of canola fields, you'll see an abundance of hemp, ancient grain crops, food forests, and fruit farms growing blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, etc. And of course, the dandelions, elderberry trees, and such. Permaculture, I guess I mentioned, mushroom farming, aquaponics, beekeeping are also commonplace. We started to see big changes in the education system beginning in the early years of the fake pandemic. Parents enrolled their children in micro schools and learning pods. And today, in 2030, the local farms are a vital part of the education of our children. Instead of traditional classrooms, the children either live on the farm or are bused to the farm by the truckers who they're bused to the farm every week to work in the greenhouses and community gardens and in the care of the farm animals. Farm apprenticeship programs and permaculture training offer retraining for all. And it's a labor of love as people are well compensated, yet not overworked. Real estate agents and mortgage brokers have been retrained to become matchmakers who connect landowners with aspiring farmers, food producers, and growers, and gardeners who wish to live and work on the land alongside the landowner. The next one I want to talk about is travel, entertainment, and recreation. The lockdowns and stay-at-home control strategies that we experienced during the early 2020s caused us to reevaluate our lifestyle choices around such things as travel, vacations, lifestyle, and recreation. It's now commonplace for families and individuals of all ages to plan extended vacations in the country, closer to home. They work hand in hand with the farmers. In the pre-COVID days, young people would gather in the pubs for a night of drinking. Today, they come with their friends to the country. Beautiful, comfortable buses equipped with all the required amenities transport passengers between all urban centers and the local farms. Soon we will have high-speed and short rail lines connecting our communities. Farmers everywhere host farm-to-table events where the table is at the farm and cooks or chefs prepare the food at the farm or in the field. Often a tour of the farm is offered, with the farmer showing and describing the methods used to raise the meat, poultry, fruits, vegetables, grains, etc. Farmers reap more of the profit from their goods, and the people enjoy knowing how their food will be treated and prepared. In the evening, we sit around the campfires and tell stories. We build trust and friendships. We engage in handshake agreements, barn raising, community dances, etc. Then there's the area of health and happiness. People are much happier and contented today than they were 7 years ago. We live in chemical-free and toxic-free homes surrounded by vibrant healing gardens that enhance our lives. We spend more time in nature, connected to the earth, working with the living soil, the care of plants, and the feeding of farm animals. People take time to breathe, to meditate, to experience the fresh air. They gaze at the clouds, the moon, and the stars. Only a few people still take pharmaceutical medications. Clean food and water, peace of mind, less stress and anxiety, and major lifestyle changes, along with the clean country air. Plus, we're engaged in productive and meaningful work. Today, most farms have on-site healing and rejuvenation clinics that are surrounded by beautiful medicinal herb gardens and walking paths for meditation and contemplation, as well as play and laughter. Farmers no longer retire to the city. They stay on the land and are cared for by a thriving community. Artists and writers thrive in the creative rural environments and help to beautify the environment with their work. People are happy because they're no longer stressing about money. They work less and play more. They work at jobs they love. People also are sleeping better than in previous decades because of being in nature, having more outdoor experiences and connection with the earth. And that's the end. Thank you.
You fed my soul. Thank you. Oh, I love the idea of farms being hubs for community. So well done. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I agree with you, Scott, in regards to what Karen said about the pharmaceutical industry. It is dissolved in 10 years. So Karen, as you were speaking, I think that a lot of people are going to want to step into what everyone is sharing here. And I think that because you've all written everything out, that we can all create these as really empowering articles, and then people can copy and paste what passion and purpose they want to really step into. And that's how we can begin to create these action steps. So I'll speak into that in a moment, but yeah, that's what came up as you were sharing. So thank you.
Welcome.
Christina.
I love all these. This is so great. So Brian, I love the Venus Project, and I still called mine Utopia 2030 instead of Agenda 2030. So, and the Venus Project is rocks. So, hey folks, I'm looking at my other computer just so you know. So everyone close their eyes and go in deep for a nighttime bedtime story. Hi folks. I'm Christina Ireland, coming to you from one of our many epic Earth ships we live in at Magic Queendom, a natural, stunning, abundant paradise serving a diverse community of approximately 5,500 folk, from newborns to elders, plus local wild, farm, and domestic animals. We're well networked with all the many other thriving conscious communities across the new Earth. Welcome to 2030, a time when we the people co-own everything, and we are happier than shit. It wasn't money required to claim it. It was our birthright to steward it and enjoy the abundant resources that Creator provided. It was quite the journey claiming our sovereignty, lands, and power back, but that's another story. Love, truth, and justice have been served, making way for more of the same as the thousands of years of patriarchy and warring between good and evil became a thing of the past. We are a self-governing, self-responsible, self-inspired, self-regulated, self-reliant, self-sufficient, and self-guided community in service to the greater good of all, beginning with us. We blend practical, spiritual, social, artistic, and philosophical concepts where talk turns to form, easily and effortlessly, driven by an innate desire to create inspired action. It's a sweet, spacious spot where all voices count and are represented. One's gifts are honored, wisdom keepers and modern thought converge. Nature is for nurture and learning, where love is present and our common instinct is to give back. We recognize giving and receiving as the same revolving door. We give and receive unconditionally, which took a lot of deprogramming from a lack consciousness, competitive economic slavery system, a matrix that was designed to keep us broke, stuck, insecure, and insignificant by its very design. And it did a very good job of it, using admiral law, banksters, corruption, mass media, manipulative control tools, and fictional stories to make us believe we were separate, powerless, and forgot who we truly were. We have drafted our own declaration of independence and interdependence, and we welcome the greater community to come explore, experience, and be inspired to live more loving, creatively, and consciously. We have solar, wind, and earth power, as well as permaculture gardens galore, geodesic domes, tree houses, other cool alternative housing, hammocks, huts, nature walks to waterfalls, water sports, art barns, games rooms, an amphitheater, cenotes, underground temples, caves, and places to explore the unknown. Did I mention the many animals we live with? Well, kind of a fun animal farm over yonder, domestics included, that provide us with so many opportunities to care for, cuddle, feed, and love until death do us part in a loving, sacred way. We have core councils formed to ensure we fulfill our practical missions, goals, and dreams with the greater good in mind as we get really discerning at going towards what works and feels good rather than giving energy to what we don't want. We act locally, we think globally in harmonic, loving ways. We've learned to follow natural cycles and natural law. So we are no longer attached to time, money, and our straw man fictions. If you live here, you are choosing to live in your blissful ecstasy, your natural state of being. We use ideas developed from dreams through dreaming in a practical way, being able to see what the future might bring, inspired by sound, colors, vibrations, different materials, and crafts and art. In the early part of the last decade, from 2020, I personally pondered and explored that which mattered the most to me. What was it? Autonomy, health, freedom, security, money, relationships, family, sex, success, power? Why did I crave more, better, different? Where did this insatiable desire come from? And when was enough? I gave up my car, my comforts, insurance, cravings, consumption, social media, other than Telegram, walked and biked more, was a sacred activist, freedom fighter, ran a freedom cell, connected with communities, did a lot of trauma work, went into my dark Scorpio cave, feeling the gamut of emotions from fear, anger, outrage, to acceptance, love, compassion, and everything in between towards self and others. It was a tumultuous, chaotic, yet revealing time as the veils and curtains were drawn back to reveal the nature of reality without the LSD, DMT, and ayahuasca. It was like we were living in a sci-fi movie, not knowing how the story would end or if there would be a sequel. And then that aha moment, we are co-writing the script. Oh, fuck. I called Venus and I got Earth. Who can I blame? Well, we made a very challenging but brave, purposeful, and radical shift that took off like fire around the world as Burning Man rebirthed and merged with Water Woman in 2024. This was a countercultural, creative global festival sharing and uniting music, song, dance with representation of the 64 arts of Saraswati. You might have to look those up. Rebirthing of the new earth. There were new technologies for free energy, med beds for optimum health, sound transformation healing tents, time travel teachings, alchemy, sacred geometry, conscious connections, tantra, transformational breath work, Life Force Canada activations, the New Earth education for kids and parents alike. The festival culminated after days of foreplay leading up to the final rituals where, oh my God, we burned, drowned, cremated, and released all our digital devices into the fire, into the buckets of water, into the abyss. Don't worry, we found a way to recycle them later, but it wasn't easy. But Mama never said giving birth would be. And what we created became a template for humanity as a saving grace. We unplugged. At Magic Queendom, we love to share our experiences in the areas of social, ecological, economic and cultural matters so that they can be useful to others who are working towards making the world a better place. Thus, we have a retreat center called Inner Sanctuary, which is modeled on an ancient memory of heaven on earth, hosting workshops, play shops, and events that support our evolution of consciousness in seriously fun and playful ways. The soundproof padded room, the Zen room, the deprivation chambers, the one like Mantak Chia has in Thailand, are designed to safely explore the gamut of our emotional states, both alone and with support, without shame, blame, or judgment. God knows we've all had to do a lifetime worth of forgiveness work over the last 10 years. To those who preferred the apparent bottom feeders, we're dead. Along with the 5 agreements, we live by 3 basic laws, laws being the acronym for love, awareness, wisdom, and spirit. 1, see the other as greater than thyself. Wrap your heads around that one. Number 2, kindness, respect, love, and your word matters, and we welcome your shadow to play, dance, and express itself in healthy, safe ways. Remember, we have a collective of skilled and upcoming leaders, practitioners, and a padded room. To live each moment to its fullest. Number 3, to live each moment to its fullest in being the authentic you. And as Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, to be true to yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. I can proudly, humbly, and undeniably say we did it, we made it, we birthed the sweetest heaven on earth imaginable. We're thriving, and it became the new pandemic.
So in my mind, Christina, I was a stag dancing through your whole vision.
Yay.
Thank you so much. That was excellent. I love it. I love it. Okay, we're just going to go into open forum now. Sherry, you're so funny. Yes, 2 minutes is a little bit longer in 2030, but we have plenty of time in 2030 and beyond because we have no money and we're just creating and being in the moment. I love it. Okay, would anyone like to comment on our amazing Backcasting 2030 visionaries and just share your gratitude? You're welcome to just raise your hand, and maybe there's something that you would like to add yourself. Scott, go ahead.
Well, thanks, Karen. Yeah, I just wanted to thank all the speakers, all the effort and time and energy they put into creating and then delivering these really inspiring messages. And yeah, I guess the only thing I would add is I see our world operating from love instead of fear at all times.
So true. Yes, Scott. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here and sharing your beautiful words. Yes, we're moving out of fear frequency and into the freedom frequency, into love, gratitude, joy, bliss. Hello, Sherry.
Hello, Karen. Lovely to be back with all this beautiful life force energy. Yeah, just after a long absence, it's nice to come back to this and a great meeting to come back to with such beautiful positive visions for the future. So thank you, everyone. And I just wanted to, I know I've already said it in the chat, but I want to reiterate it. I truly think this would be a great, like Dwayne's Backcast would be great as a news thing, that if he records it, we could all send viral as, oh, check out the news. And then, you know, it could have the 2030 in the background, but people checking it out first as the proper newscast. And with that, I yield. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Sherry. It's great to see you here again. Your beautiful smile. We've all missed you. Yes, I agree. And I think just putting it on Awake, Free, and Ready would be awesome, Dwayne.
And I think that might be an inspiration to do just that. So thank you for that, Sherry.
Love it. Lori, go ahead.
I have to agree with Sherry there. That was fantastic. I thank you, Karen, for sending the video. That's the first time I saw it that Catherine Austin Hicks did. And I just felt so inspired from those. And I thought, I want to do this. And then I got busy and I forgot. But you guys hit them all. That was so awesome. And I agree, Sherry, I'm saving this one. With that, I yield. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Laurie. And with that, I would like to say that I've had a conversation with Ray and Rebecca and the Activate Us team, and they are going to be creating a course coming up. I do believe it will be either February or March. And it's really all about us crossing the bridge. And as we cross the bridge, what is it going to look like? So everything really here in the different categories, no money. So we look at the economy, a free economy. What does that look like? And we take everything that Brian said, everything that Dwayne said, and everything that Laura Jane and Sandra and everybody, we take all that information and then we move through this mind mapping course together, whoever wants to take it. I do believe he's going to charge a minimal amount of money. It's not going to be a lot, but there's going to be a donation because Ray does so much for free. And he just, I really want to support him in this creation because he's such a brilliant facilitator as well. So I think that as we put this together, I was sharing with Karen Hanna here that we take everything because all of you who just shared, you all wrote it out. And so if you can send me the documents, then what we can do is we can just mind map it and put it all together so that it's in a structure that when we are maybe caught up in the fear frequency or we're caught up in the present moment and we kind of sometimes forget about where we're going, then this can be what constantly reminds us and brings us back on track, back onto the path. And then we can create those action steps of how we can get there to the creation of everything that you were all sharing, the learning pods, etc., and make it a reality. We have the power to make this a reality. Isn't that exciting? Kanika, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. I really love all the presentations. They are so great. Although I like the Venus project, I don't like the idea that robots run everything. It's a kind of too much connection to what these world controllers are trying to do. So I will skip the robots. I would rather prefer people to work instead. But working from the point of stand that they love it, not to be forced to it. Another thing, I think we should implement lots of ideas from the movement of ringing cedars of Russia. There are so many good things there. For example, regarding education, there are good ideas regarding education. There are special schools where they let kids express their talents and interests, and even building little houses. They can do whatever they want. They are let do everything, and mostly in nature. Natural schools, like expressing any kind of interest, and they can learn stuff and whatever they want to just develop themselves in the way that they have talents in. In my vision, it's living in harmony with nature, with each other, and with ourselves. With that, I will end. Thank you.
Thank you, Katika. Yay. Yes, I think a lot of us agree with what you're saying. I'm with you in regards to the robots. I don't want any robots. I love Michael Tellinger's vision where everyone has a purpose and they're doing what they love, and how in a community, whether you have 10,000 people or so, is that we all contribute time. We contribute time to what is it, 3 hours a week, I do believe it is. And we contribute time to doing the things that we don't want to do, but everyone in the town is doing it. And it becomes a meditation. It's like the Tibetan monks, right? They teach you that if you are in present moment, there's no judgment of what you're doing. There's no, oh, this is a bad job or this is a good job. You are just present to the now, and you're just in the doing of it. And that's a meditation. And so I love that concept. But yes, Katika, this is great. Thank you, everyone, for participating this evening. Thank you to our visionaries for sharing a profound possibility and a realization that we can truly step into. I appreciate every single one of you. We are doing this. We've got this, right? Together we rise. Again, thank you for your contribution. Have an awesome rest of your week. And I look forward to seeing you next Monday. We've got lots of great Monday night sessions coming up, so stay tuned.